Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. Today we're talking about the new Aston Martin Vanquish. There's a whole Aston Martin lifestyle. I can't quite describe it. These are very intimate cars. This is the classic example of what a grand touring car should be. There are a lot of sports cars that pretend to be grand tourers, a lot of grand tourers that pretend to be sports cars. This, I think, is almost the perfect combination of both. You know, as much as I love my Carrera GT, that is essentially a race car for the street. So it rides hard, and when you hit bumps, boy, you feel it through the chassis. It's very low to the ground, it scrapes. This is a vehicle that has normal ground clearance, has hyper performance, for lack of a better word, and quite an advanced car. The most advanced car Aston Martin has built to date. All carbon fiber. This body is all carbon fiber. All these panels are carbon fiber, I believe. A lot of aluminum. Not a lightweight car, but as light as it has to be to get the job done. I think this car weighs about 3,800 pounds, 565 horsepower, 460 foot-pounds of torque. Now, I know there are other cars in this price range, which is $280,000, that have more than 565 horsepower. You know, the Aventador, some of the others. But that's a different kind of car. This car has all the power you need and all the handling you need for the street. Mark Reichman, I hope I'm saying his name right, he is the head designer for Aston Martin. I got to talk to him last year, and actually 2 years ago, when I was over there in England at the Aston Martin factory, and they were building the 177. Well, here's a couple of minutes of that. To a lot of automobile enthusiasts, Aston Martin cars are God. And if you need more proof, that is that they're, look, it's actually driving on water. This is a place I've seen in magazines, I've read about, and it's sort of a dream come true to be able to come here. And we're going to take a look at some of their new vehicles and the new 77 that you heard a lot about. That's their new $1 million plus supercar. I'm here in the courtyard at Aston Martin, and it's raining, which is a shock to me. The last time it rained in California, September 8th, 1974. And this is Aston's new flagship, the 177 supercar, 750 horsepower, fantastic looking automobile. You know, Aston Martin, much like the Porsche 911, they evolve over time. They don't come out with one model that looks completely different and outdates the other. You can tell by looking at it that this is an Aston Martin. I'm astounded at how attractive this car is and how people react to it when you go out on the road. It drives nicely, it handles nicely. It doesn't do anything brutally, but it does it briskly and quickly, efficiently. It is a very fast car. Are there other faster cars? There probably are. 0 to 60 is 4 seconds. Yeah, okay, McLaren will do it in 3.2, whatever, okay, but you're kind of missing the point. You know, this is a car that you go out to dinner and then you drive up the coast and then you put it on track mode and you can go do something on Saturday afternoon with it. It really is sort of a jack of all trades in that respect. Not an inexpensive car by any means, but really a quality automobile. It takes the equivalent of 5 weeks, man-hours, to build each one of these. A lot of bespoke parts on this car. I mean, look at the beautiful carbon fiber. I mean, look at this beautiful piece here, this carbon fiber mirror. I don't know what that would cost if you knocked it off, but it's just beautifully done. I'm not sure what they call this blue. Not my favorite color, but it is a nice color, but I prefer perhaps a dark blue, maybe a steel gray. That's sort of what Aston says to me. Look at this interior, just unbelievable. Look at the stitching on this. Now, each Vanquish interior takes about 70 man-hours to complete. I think there's 7 different hides in this. Then you have that center stack. They call that a waterfall design. A lot of carbon fiber. And you know, here's part of the whole Aston experience. You got this glass key, which is, I think it's very cool. You know, just, why, yes, let me put my glass key in this Cinderella and we'll go for a ride. It's like being in a proper gentleman's club when you drive one of these. Not that kind of gentleman's club. I mean a club with real gentlemen, not those guys. Let's take a look under the hood. As I said, everything is carbon fiber. Okay, you're not going to reach in there and get your spark plug. You're not even going to get your hand in there. I am astounded at the clearance levels in modern cars. You know, so many cars from the 60s, you could literally stand in the engine compartment and work on it. But this is pretty tight in here, but nicely done. You have your cross brace here, 6-liter V12, 565 horse. think the compression ratio is, what, 11 to 1? It's got knock sensors. And your car is hand-built. This one was hand-built by Kieran Coffey. Kieran, nice job, eh? Good job, Governor. Kieran Coffey built this one. So if you have a problem, you go back to the factory. Kieran here? No, he's not here right now. I know he's here because he built my car. Nothing seems to go wrong with this car. I've been driving it pretty hard, beating on it. As you can see, it's certainly not all clean. It's all dirty. You've been driving it in the rain, and on hot days, it doesn't overheat. You know, one of my pet peeves is when the tire to fender ratio is a little off. I always hate that when there's too much space, or sometimes there's too little. I think Aston has got it just about right. The car just sits right, it looks right. And of course, all carbon fiber brakes. Let's open the trunk. Let me show you the trunk. There's really a good sized trunk in this thing. You can actually go places in this. Aston likes to brag that this trunk is bigger than the Bentley Continental GT, certainly bigger than the Ferrari 458. But this is a car you can use as a real car. I mean, I know $280,000, it's a tremendous amount of money. But you get a car that has a lot more usability than I think a lot of other cars in this class. I love this quilting. I remember this from the old Ferrari Lusos and those cars from the 60s. And I like the way Aston has gone back and done that. Dr. Ulrich Benz, he is the man behind Aston Martin. And I like car companies run by one person because you have that one person's vision of what the automobile should be. Ron Dennis at McLaren, you know, his thing is science and engineering. And same thing with Dr. Benz. He is a real stickler for detail. The car has to be exactly right. And if it meets his standard, then you know you're getting something pretty good. I was fortunate enough to meet him a couple of times at Pebble Beach and was very impressed by him. You know, someone said to me the other day, well, a Shelby Mustang, that's like a third of the price and it's got 600. It's a different animal. It's a totally different thing. There's such a thing as sophistication, and that's what this has. This is a very sophisticated automobile. A lot of people criticize this automatic transmission. It's not one of the new 8-speeds. It's not one of the dual clutch gearboxes. I think that misses the point. I think a lot of people criticize it because other people have criticized it. I think if you drive this car, you don't notice it missing, put it that way. This car does everything extremely smoothly, extremely well. You've got a sports setting, a comfort setting, and a track setting. And on the track setting, it seems to shift very, very nicely. You know, I've been driving this the last almost a week now. It's a lot of fun. And it gets a lot of comments. You know, you pull up the lights and you get the thumbs up, and people seem to know what it is. Maybe it's the James Bond movies it's been associated with. That probably has a lot to do with it. But even people who are not car people know this is something special. Let's take it for a ride. You'll see what I'm talking about. I want you to experience the whole Aston Martin thing. You know, I got to drive one of the DB9s that had a stick in it, and I love that. I felt very James Bondy. I had to put a tuxedo on. Even did a pretty good burnout. Take a look. Put in my glass slipper. Nothing like a normally aspirated V12. Just ask my F1. Great sound. It's really only the last decade or so that Aston Martin has been a successful, viable automobile company because it's always run by men that were passionate. When David Brown had the company, I remember a customer said, I want to buy it for your price. I want to pay what you pay. And David said, all right, and he charged him $500 more because he was losing money on every car. Boy, talk about hitting just the right pitch. Listen to that. What you have here is a car that gives up maybe just a tiny, tiny bit of sport to make it a bit more livable and comfortable. And that's a very fair exchange to me. Steers very nicely. It's neither too light nor too heavy. I believe this has hydraulically assisted steering. You know, so many cars now have electric, and that's fine. It's a little old school, but that's okay. As I mentioned before, this doesn't have the dual clutch gearbox, but you know, I don't think you really miss it. I don't think anybody would drive this and go, oh my God, it doesn't shift. It shifts crisply and sharply, especially in sport mode and track mode. Red line's about 6,700 RPM. As I said, it's got the 6-speed gearbox, 70 miles an hour. You're turning just about 1900 RPM. I know it has back seats, but they're ridiculous. And that's optional. You can get it without the back seats if you want. The back seats are nice when you get to pay your insurance. Oh, no, it's sports car. Oh, no, it's a 4-seater. All right, we've got people in the back. Oh, yeah. But you don't want to put anybody you like back there. You know, too often when you have beautiful cars, especially beautiful European cars, there's always some sacrifice. You're uncomfortable, you're cramped, the electrics are dodgy. That's not the case with this. You know, whether I'm driving the Rapide, I love the DB9. This, of course, is the best car in the range. It's just the right size. It's really not much bigger than a 911. It handles very nicely. It drives very nicely. This is not the kind of car your spouse is going to go, no, we're not going to New York in that. No, you want to go to New York in this. This is just a beautiful piece of kinetic sculpture, just a nice piece of rolling artwork that does everything it's asked to do and does it very competently. You know, every auto enthusiast should get a chance to drive a car like this at least once in their lifetime. I'm very fortunate. I get to do it quite a bit. Each time is exciting. It's as exciting as the first time. It elevates your day. It makes you feel good. To me, it's like walking into a beautiful home. You know, you get comfortable, and then you just go wherever you want to go. There are cars that are faster, but I don't think any other car does everything as well as this one as a package. You can't beat it. But I want to thank Dr. Bez. I hope I'm saying his name right. It's B-E-Z. And of course, Mr. Reichman designing such a beautiful car. And I guess we'll see you guys next week. I'm going to go drive this some more.